So thank you for joining this call. I know it's late in the evening, so I'll keep it brief and spend most of the time in the Q&A. So some of you have applied for interviews and beyond. Some of you have applied for high impact product management. And based on my thesis, I think I have been building this thesis for last 2-3 months. And ultimately it converged into a single track. So I'm going to sort of talk about that, what it entails, and then I'll let you folks make the decision. If you have any questions during the session, what I do is I encourage you to put it in chat. If it is something which is very relevant to whatever I'm talking about, I'll pick it immediately, or I will wait towards the end of the session to address that question. So let me briefly talk about my own experience. So I have been in various roles. I have managed and built product analytics team. I have built data science and growth team at Upgrad. At MX Player, I again led growth for DAUs. At Flipkart, I've been in various roles. I led games and gamification platform, followed by voice search and assistant. And then my last role in corporate was at an academy where I was looking at end-to-end learner experience. For last 3 years, I've been building PM Curve. And the goal of PM Curve is to help PMs become better in their jobs or in their career in general. Right? If you look at like last 5 years has been learning, teaching, and helping people, especially PM folks. It started with Growth Catalyst newsletter in 2020, followed by a book launch we had in 2022, which is Tech Simplified. And for last 3 years, it has been PM Curve. Just recently, like 3 months back, we launched PrepLoop AI, which is a AI interviewer that helps PMs prepare for every round, every possible round in the interview. Right. And what we are doing this year is we are investing more and more into the tools. And on the other hand, we are consolidating programs to make them AI ready. And what I mean by that is, briefly, I'll spend some time on that. What we are seeing is there are only 2 roles that are emerging in this era. One is a AI product manager role, which is a highly technical role. Or like it could be application oriented also, but yeah, it's either like platform AI PM or it's consumer AI PM. So there is a AI product manager role where you need to specialize in AI to become that PM. And then the entirety of traditional PM is kind of getting more and more outcome driven. And part of the reason is because execution is commoditized in the sense that a lot of laborious parts of our jobs is being automated as we speak. And if you have checked like newest models, Opus 4.6, or like if you have been following all the developments in AI, it wouldn't surprise you to say that a lot of the tasks that at least I spent my early years as a PM doing, they will take maybe like 20% of the time that they used to take. And what that means is as execution pace gets faster, the currency, the rare currency is actually like whether you can have better judgment, better taste, which is why you hear these words, taste, judgment. These are just like, synonyms of product sense, product thinking that we have been hearing so far. But the only thing is product sense was relevant in pre-AI era. Now it feels like it is the only thing that is relevant, right? And why we need judgment is to create impact. And that is where like this high impact product management kind of track came into picture, which is like, let's focus on the outcome, which is high impact. And then interviews is the third category, which is like every PM needs to crack interviews. So interview is another outcome, right? But all in all, if you see, like we have consolidated programs to focus on just 3 outcomes, which is cracking interviews and getting to the next role, creating impact and getting promoted. And then third is basically AI product management, which is advanced AI product management for seasoned PMs. Now, I'm going to talk about the 2 programs. The first is interviews, and the second, 2 outcomes actually. First is interview, second is impact. Right? Now, when I wrote the initial thesis of both of these programs, high impact product judgment or management was basically you develop deep skills to create impact, and then you build your own AI copilot. which is you build your own AI productivity system. You can call it operating system, AI OS, you can call it Copilot, no matter what you call it. But you build a set of workflows, prompts, system prompts, and agents, which kind of help you make far better decisions and also accelerate the pace of the work that you can do as a PM, right? So that's basically high impact product judgment. Mastering seasoned PM interviews was all about develop advanced skills to crack interviews and then get connected directly to hiring managers. So the question became like, in my mind, like if you might be thinking like, why go for a single track? Because these two in itself are very, very meaty problems. You might have seen, sub segments of these getting covered in programs. Like product sense in itself is a singular program. Growth in itself is a singular program. The good thing is I have run those programs. The first course I launched at PM Curve was Advanced Growth, followed by Product Sense and Strategy. And this was in an era when Product Sense, there was no course on Product Sense that existed across the globe, not just in India. And then sort of I launched interview program. So it's not that I've not gone through those subsegments. It's just that I believe that in the AI era, it's good to focus on outcomes because skills will become a part of the outcomes only. Now, the thing is, let's talk, rather than sort of jumping to the answer, let's talk about the problems. And let's talk about the problems in these two outcomes, right? The first is interviews. Now, in interviews, what you realize, and most of you will realize that, must have already realized that actually, not will realize that, is frameworks and process know-how is good enough to crack APM PM roles, right? But the same thing does not work at senior roles. So at senior roles, you know those frameworks and process know-how, but you need to show a lot of depth. And you can show that depth either through your experience or like by having very, very intelligent conversations. So even if you don't have some experience around certain things, your in-depth knowledge in those areas can still convince interviewer that you are a person who is very curious and they can take a bet on you, right? So senior roles are a lot about like, can this person do this job? Because the downside of organization hiring a lead PM or a director of product and then failing in that role is very, very high. And if you look at that, the struggles that you'll see in seasoned PM levels actually increase multifold. The first thing is, how do you showcase your in-depth product skills to prove that you can do the job? The second is, how do you do that in 30 minutes while solving another problem of product sense or analytics or something else? The third is, and this is something that never gets covered, I think this is something which is least talked about, which is how do you build domain knowledge for the companies and industries that you're sort of interviewing for? And how do you build in-depth domain knowledge so that you don't ask stupid questions, right? And finally, at this level, the delivery and executive presence also becomes very, very important. Like I have seen people who have struggled because they used to speak too fast and they worked on that and their interview performance improved. I have seen people who used to put a lot of fillers and because of which like people are wary of hiring a director of product who adds a lot of fillers while doing a presentation to board or to senior executives. So all of these things become important. It's not that they were not important before, but now the stakes are much higher, both for the company that is hiring you and for the candidate. Now, if you look at the current alternatives, which is what we do as PMs, showcasing in-depth product skills to prove you're good at job. The thing is, most of the interview prep programs are all about frameworks and theory. Like we are still dealing with circles. We are still dealing some modified form of circles and all that. If you talk about like reaching a creative solution to a complex problem within 30 minutes, again, what you get is you see some examples of people solving problem live. And I'm not saying that's not useful. The thing is, I have been a beneficiary of that, in the sense that you can see how somebody is solving. You can draw some inspiration from that. You can see how to apply frameworks and all that. At the same time, it's very hard to decode why they went after a certain solution, right? What was the thought process of them making those choices? That never gets covered because even in a real interview, you're not speaking your mind. Just give me a moment. because even there, you're not speaking your mind. So even when you're sort of solving for okay, sorry for that. So basically, like you can, yeah. So when you're looking at those examples, they don't tell you like how would you make a decision of this versus that. For example, you went through a brilliant solution that the candidate came up with. You still have no way of knowing the thought process behind it, and because of that, you can't decode your own thought process while solving that problem. Right now, the third thing is building deep domain knowledge. Again, this is not something that we focus tons on. You can say that with LLMs, this has become easier, but at the same time, even after LLMs have come, I've seen like people struggling with it because it creates a very large report. You don't know what to focus on, what not to focus on. And most importantly, whatever like you focus on, there is not much framework behind this domain knowledge. And which is where like, even if you read about a company or industry, how you will apply it back to strategy problems or back to the questions that you are going to ask is not super clear. And then there is gaps in delivery and executive presence in interviews, which can be covered through mock interviews, but these mock interviews tend to be very, very expensive. If you go for like senior level mock interviews, they range anywhere between, let's say, 5,000 to 10,000 rupees per interview. Now, let's talk about the problem on the job, right? So the first problem that I've seen is there's no clear roadmap to upskill to the next level. So suppose you're a PM working in a job. First of all, like your manager, if you have a pretty great manager, they will actually like work with you to get you to the next level. But most of the times, managers don't have enough time to do that, especially when you're working in startups or very, very like fast setups. And that is where like you don't have very, very clear roadmap on what will get you to the next level. A lot of people get stuck in the middle because they don't have a roadmap to that. More importantly, you don't have any insight on what the market needs for the next level, right? So you don't move in that direction as well. The second thing is you don't have any specific feedback for your core skills, right? So you get feedback once in 6 months, but even that feedback is very layered, lacking context and all that. There's no objective feedback that you get on your core skills, right? There's no benchmarking you get on your core skills. The only benchmark that you have is possibly from your company, and you don't have a broader benchmark on what your market value is or what your skills are in the market, right? Now, this can create two problems. It can create imposter syndrome if you are very humble, or it can create overconfidence if you are not so humble, right? And the third thing is, which kind of relates to the second part, which when I was saying that job don't actually give you specific feedback on core skills, it's not that they don't give you feedback on certain skills. The problem is no job trains you for all the skills needed to be a super PM in this era, right? Or in any era. Like even if you saw like very strong PMs in traditional sense, you'll see that they have a grip on a lot of skills. Like they can understand marketing, copywriting, they can understand growth, they can understand sales, they can understand tech, they can understand other things. So PM is a generalist role and very strong generalist role. So you cannot be a strong generalist by not going deep into multiple areas. Ultimately, like what you have to, the way to think about it is, a very strong developer is operating at 99th percentile in their job. A very strong designer is operating in 99th percentile in their job. You as a PM is not operating in 99th percentile in anything, but you are in the 90th percentile for many things. And if you become 90th percentile in 3 or 4 things, you become 99th percentile as a strong generalist, right? So that's where like this is useful. And now again, if I talk about the courses, and I have created some of these courses, right? They focus on a singular skill, which means that you don't have this roadmap, right? You don't have all the skills laid out in front of you. You don't have benchmarking of where you lack something, where you don't lack something, right? And you don't have a clear roadmap. So kind of by the very design of focusing on singular skills, courses don't actually cover the entirety of the skills that is needed for you to be be a strong PM. And that means no single course will be able to, by design, will be able to help you with figuring out how to get to the next level, right? Second is, right now, like AI fluency is very, very important to master, which is like AI powered product management. And if you look at again the pedagogy that has become problematic is people are learning how to take prompts from elsewhere and putting it in their workflow, or how to take workflow from somebody else and put it in their own sort of flow. The problem with this approach is, while it may work for general jobs and all that, it does not work for PMs, right? Because what you have to do is you have to master both. You have to like take a particular prompt. You have to know like skills like prototyping, agentic workflows, and all prompt engineering. But then you have to apply that in your context and create your own set of agents that will help you. And that is why like the AI Copilot has to be like custom for every PM. Because when it comes to product management job, one thing that you realize is every PM job is very, very different. And rather than sort of giving you a software or a particular tool and saying that, this works for me, this will work for you, a better approach could be of a Lego block where we give you all the blocks, small blocks, and you can build whatever you want to do, right? And that is only possible if you have deeper skills, product skills, and if you know how to build AI agents or AI workflows and all that for yourself, right? The third is feedback loop and benchmarking is again missing across the set of current resources, be it newsletters or courses or anything. So the thing is, all of these problems are listed down, and the core insight, and this is the most important slide for this entire sort of for this entire hour, which is my realization is like, what you need to do is you need to start with creating high impact on your job, which will lead to better narrative in your career in general, and which will lead to better promotions or next job opportunities, right? And better promotions or next job will again lead to much higher impact on the job because the scope of the role is much higher, and so on and so forth. So unless you sort of are working on this flywheel, your career will be sort of slower or faster depending on like how fast the cycle is, right? And unless you are working on this, like your career won't move. Now, what you end up realizing is impact on the job is strongly correlated to your next job. And what does that tell you? What that tells you is deeper skills required to do the job are necessary condition to crack seasoned PM interviews, right? So this is the point where I said they don't have to be separate, because so far the perception, if you ask anyone and say that, I will do a much in-depth product sense course, will it improve my interviews? And they will tell you, yeah, of course, like if you master some topic in depth, it will of course like help you in interviews. But still, when it comes to interviews, most people have the view that because I'm preparing for interviews, the faster route is just to do an interview framework and all these things. My experience, based on like whatever PMs I've seen sort of moving through their careers in last 3 years, is at seasoned PM level, at least, having the frameworks is not the sufficient condition. Mastering those skills very, very deep is a necessary condition to succeed in seasoned PM interviews. And if you have seen people who have just taken the frameworks and succeeded, that's because they have higher impact created on the job, right? But if this fundamental layer of skills is missing, it actually creates a lot of burden throughout the career, right? And which led to this second thing, which is like this Harada map for product management. This is borrowed from a Japanese technique on how do you achieve a singular goal by breaking it down into various parts. So high impact equation is basically the 8 competencies, and these 8 competencies have 8 skills each. And we say that in the 10 weeks that we do 4-hour session each, which is 40 hours, we will cover these 64 skills for PMs. And beyond these, there is nothing, right? So once you master these skills, you can crack interviews, you can create high impact on the job, right? The third thing is, the third insight that we have is skill assessment can surface what to focus on, and it can also benchmark you. And we did this sort of in the first year of PM Curve itself, which is like in the growth program, as you can see on the screen, right? This is the growth playground. And we said that rather, we will give people to read, but then we will set objective questions. And as you keep going through this interface, what you'll realize is you keep doing this. And suppose you go towards the end. First of all, like you're getting very clear feedback on whether you are able to grasp a concept or not. And second, you also get to see where you stand against other. What is your percentile? What is your score? What is your overall score and all that? So growth, like this kind of setup has given a lot of confidence to people who were like even junior PMs, that they understand growth better because they were scoring like 90th percentile. And that converts to your on-job performance, that converts to your interview performance, right? So that is one. The second thing is the subjective skills, because I could not do the same thing with product sense, because product sense is very subjective. But the good thing is with Preploop AI, we could build an AI interviewer that could actually like take your interview for product sense. Every round, in fact, product sense, execution, growth, analytics, behavioral, and all that. So I believe our insight was that we can add objectivity wherever needed in skill assessment, and we can also take subjective interviews, right? And all of this kind of feeds into the solution that we have, which is the jobs to be done is ultimately career growth. It can come through getting a better role somewhere else or getting promoted by creating higher impact. So if I just say that the single track JTBT is a singular thing, I believe like I can convince a lot of people to say that, okay, then this it makes sense to have a singular solution as long as they're not like going against each other. So what we do is very quickly, I'll cover like the logistics of the course. So there is core skills session where we sort of cover this entirety of 64 skills, 10 sessions. During these sessions and after these sessions, you are supposed to build your own AI Copilot, right? And this is kind of a capstone project. You can think of this like a capstone project because it teaches you to how to be very, very effective AI-powered product manager. Like how do you use AI to the maximum extent? Moreover, like employers are expecting, hiring managers are expecting every PM to have certain AI fluency. Can they at least write automations? Can they actually like write prompts? Can they do these? The basic skills that you need, right? The 80-20, which is 80% of your jobs require 20% of the skills. Those you will pick in this, like system prompts, workflows, agents, and all that. So, but the idea is like you build your own AI Copilot, your own operating system. And then on Thursday, we have like 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. interview sessions focused on interview prep. If you're not actively preparing for interview prep, you can skip these sessions or you can attend these sessions. I would actually expect a lot of you to attend these sessions. And the reason is very, very simple. See, best frameworks come from the experience of people who have in-depth experience into something. All the frameworks that you read, they are coming from people who have done product management very deeply, which means interviews are a compression of all the deep skills that you are learning. And interviews can also be a method, a low stakes method to test yourself how good you are becoming on certain skills. So if I give you week 1 snapshot of a skill and week 10 snapshot of a skill, my goal is to get you a sort of linear progress or non-linear progress across all 64 of the skills. And let's see how successful we are, right? But the idea is that interviews or practicing in low stakes situation is a very good way of becoming good at a skill because that improves your recall, that improves your application, that improves your memory, sort of being applied in certain situations. You'll just remember like this is something that I was actually like reading about, or I was talking about to this AI interviewer, and now I can apply it to some other situation. The idea is that practice is very, very important for recall. And that's why, like I say, I expect most of you to attend these sessions, but especially people who are focused on interviews, it will be very useful for them. Then this will be async, where you can do AI mocks with Preploop AI. And this, basically, we have hundreds of competencies mapped to these different rounds. So this helps us identify the weaker areas and create a personalized roadmap for you to the next level. So suppose you are targeting a GPM role, you can actually add preparing for group PM in Preploop AI, and it will give you evaluation according to group PM rubrics. So the same answer can have, let's say, a 80 in APM, but it could have, let's say, a 35 or 40 in group PM, because we have indexed it based on the rubrics required at different levels. The next is AI Tutor, which is basically like any company or domain knowledge for any company or domain based on, let's say, a JD or a profile, we can generate a custom report. Now, the good thing is, because you understand the skills deeply, because you understand product strategy deeply, it's basically like your brain already has all this knowledge, and anything that you read, because it's based on that knowledge, you can very quickly grasp any domain. Because the framework is already with you, the deeper skills are already with you, all of this information gets latched onto that, right? Compare that to a deep research report that you publish on, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude. In there is no underlying framework that is helping you sort of absorb that, right? So that is basically the AI Tutor part, which can generate basically a domain knowledge report for any company that you are interviewing for. And this will have an underlying framework to help you remember that. And finally, like, if you are ready and if you are looking for a job, we will connect you to hiring managers. We already have like active jobs on our portal, and we are sourcing more and more as we are getting more confident. Right. I'll leave this for you to go ahead and read in case like you have not checked the testimonials and want to get a flavor of how people feel when they go through the programs. You can just go to PM Curve and you can go to testimonials section, and this will help you give a flavor of the courses. Some of the things that you'll notice again and again is the depth of the courses is really good. The questions that we cover, the case studies that we cover are really good. Okay. So that's more or less like what I had around like why two tracks merged into one. The summary is, I believe that if you want to master product management and you want to have career growth, right? Let's forget whether it's through interviews or through sort of your own company. Ultimately, what matters is you have a core set of skills and you know very, very deep around those skills. You cover your blind spots, you cover your weaker areas so that they don't hurt you as you grow in your career. The second is basically you practice them enough so that you can benchmark whether you truly know them or you just have this sense that you know them. Because just attending the course does not make you a knowledgeable person. You actually practicing that in low stakes environment makes you a much better, much knowledgeable person. And then the third is, of course, like we help you either with the roadmap to your next promotion, or we help you with connecting you to the hiring managers for whom you are relevant. So yeah, these three are like the core things. The fourth is we also help you become a AI-powered PM, which means that you become comfortable with prototyping, you become comfortable with building like smaller agents, workflows, etc., right? And all in all, like that makes you a complete PM. So that's broadly what we have. I think schedule and pricing, you already know. We have already talked about that. It's in total, like there are 10 weeks. It starts on February 22nd. The pricing for existing learners is in the payment link section. Like you can read through this and payment link for new learners is here. And what I will be doing is immediately after we end this session, I will just drop this PPT to all of you folks. You can go to the payment links and you can enroll if you would like to. In this session, let me focus on sort of the questions that are coming in the chat. Before I go there, one last disclaimer. So we were planning to take not more than 30, 35 folks. We are already at 28. I'm hoping we'll get 12 more folks at most. So once that closes, I think we'll just close the links. That's how we do in general. That's how we do enrollments at PMCO. So please don't mind if you don't get to enroll because you took some time to take a decision. The next cohort is anyway open for you. The payment link, again, like I said, I'll send the deck across immediately after the call ends, and then you can check it. So I think that concludes the session.